my gosh, we're live. Are we live? We're live. Welcome to my very first YouTube video, and hopefully not my last. My name is Anna, or you can call me Anna B, or Anna Buena, or just Anna for short. And I am a designer by day. I know I'm a little late in the game, but it's taken me a while to figure out what I wanted to do and what kind of content I wanted to put out there. I wanted to really create a community and create this channel so that I can put some content out there that are going to be a little bit more educational and actually put a lot of thought in how I use my design techniques and approach that I use at work and apply them to my own personal life. So for my first video, I wanted to talk a little bit about crafting your vision. So this is probably the first step when I work with clients or when I work with other organizations in trying to figure out what they want to do. And there are a lot of different techniques to do that. Usually I, do the very traditional business model canvas, or it really just depends on what the organization is and who the target audience is. But I really did find something interesting, an interesting visioning exercise that is called a cover story. What that essentially is you are creating a vision for yourself or for your organization or whatever, as if you're writing a magazine or creating a magazine cover. Fun, right? I am a very visual person, so it helps that I can visualize my life. I can visualize like my vision 5 years from now or 10 years from now or whatever. And so this cover story exercise is really helping you to do that. And it's very fun. It's not super, time consuming. It usually takes about 60 to 90 minutes when you're working with a team. But in this case, I'm going to do it individually because I want to plan out a vision for my own personal life. And so I'm going to show you how to do just that using Mural. You can use any other tool that really works for you. You can even use pen and paper if you want. Usually, the teams that I work with, we use just a big canvas prior to COVID. But for now, I'm going to use Mural because I want to be able to share that content with you. And before we get started, I just want to point out that this cover story exercise is different from a mood board and what's called a product roadmap. You're really just trying to envision an ideal future state for yourself or for your organization and really just be creative and step out of your norm and, really push the boundaries and be super creative and imaginative about it. This isn't really something where you put all of your future features or your future goals with the exact metrics that you want to achieve, which is what I tend to do in product roadmaps. And this isn't a mood board where you're just really purging out or brainstorming on what your mood is in that particular time. So this is really honing in on where you envision yourself maybe 5 or 10 years from now. So let's get started, and I hope you like it. Okay, so this is my mural board, and I've already created the template ahead of time just for the sake of time, but it's really not that complex. We have 5 key elements here. We have our cover, we have our brainstorming area, so we can brainstorm some ideas on what we want to do our cover story about, some quotes that we can put there, our headlines, which is really about the meat of your cover story, like what big news do you want people to know about, and also you support those headlines by creating your sidebars or putting in some facets about your cover story that may not be as big as your headline, but you want some supporting stories in there that you can put. So Again, I'm doing it in some Mural, but you can do this in whatever tool that you feel comfortable using. So let's go ahead. And I already sort of envisioned that this is going to be a Time magazine feature. So again, I'm designing or envisioning what my 5-year outlook in life is going to look like. So this is very personal for me. And so let's go ahead and brainstorm, like, what are some of the things that I would like to achieve? Maybe like designer of the year or something like that, or maybe pioneering some kind of design in marginalized communities or something like that, right? Or Filipino American designer on the rise. So I'm really thinking about big, bold stories or vision for myself. So now I'm going to go ahead and pick from those 3. Now you can do this with a team, and it's usually, a lot longer than 30 seconds. But for the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to go ahead and just pick Filipino American designer on the rise, just because I'm Filipino American and I am very proud of my heritage. And so let's go ahead and do that. Let's put it on our cover, and then we can, fiddle around with the with the fonts a little bit later on. I wouldn't spend too much time on the design like how I'm doing it right now. So now we can do a little bit of this. We can pick some images or icon. I'm just going to put woman and maybe do a little bit of a silhouette, like let's put maybe this. All right. Again, it could be anything. This is just to help me sort of get excited about the concept. And, again, you don't have to spend too much time on this. And it would also help if you maybe put a timeline. Maybe this could be like, what do you think? 5 years from now or 10 years from now? Let's put like 2030. How about that? 2030 issue. Yes. Are you getting excited? Am I the only one? Probably. All right. So now that we have our cover, what about me as a Filipino American designer are people talking about? So let's go ahead and do our quotes. It could be something like, I don't know, you can be as vain as you want. It doesn't really matter. It could be something like, Anna revolutionized inclusive design or something like that. Again, this is also something that I'm very passionate about, is inclusive design. I did not come up with this concept, but it is something that I have been trying to advocate for when designing for products. It could also be Anna set the path to other Filipino American designers or something like that. It could be anything. This is really nice. It makes me feel really good about myself as well. And so moving on to the headlines, like what are some of the big news that we want to cover? It could be anything from, obviously it has something to do with me as a Filipino American designer. Like, what is it about, me that's like super revolutionary? Like, why are people talking about me? Maybe how National Association for Inclusive Design started or something like that. And the idea is that it's me who's like one of the co-founders of this. You can be as creative as you want. Don't be afraid to kind of experiment. Let's do something like, how top CEOs are using inclusive design in their organization or something like that. Brown designers on the rise. Or we can say something like how their lived experiences shaped their design career. All right, so now we have 3 headlines. Again, you can play around with that. You can certainly, it's easier to brainstorm with a team. In this case, I'm just brainstorming by myself. But if I envision myself as the designer of the decade or designer of the year, here are some of the things that I want to achieve, right? So I think I'm going to go ahead and move on to the sidebars. And so how do we support this, right? Maybe we could do something like inclusive design. It's a thing, you know, to make it a little bit more catchy to the youths, you know, inclusive design, it's a thing. And this is where you explain inclusive design for people who might not know what it is. We can do something like top trends for inclusive design in 2030. And then finally, we can do like a case study or something. How a non-profit boosted productivity with inclusive design or something like that. But it's really just like side stories to support your headlines. And this is basically it, you know. And as you can see, you can put some images here as well. There's no one's stopping you from like being as creative as you want. But the whole point of this is that now that, you know, I've done this exercise, I really have a good sense of like where I see myself in 9 years. And so this is going to help me do tiny bits and pieces of like setting my goals or goal settings, and then putting like really actionable metrics or, you know, measurable outcomes. This can be a living document. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it's not final. You can certainly tweak it in however way you want. It's just really for you to, you know, decide how you want to take control of your life. And like I said, I'm a very visual person, and this really helps me a lot with, you know, just visualizing my life and visualizing where I want to be in the years to come. So I hope that that was really useful information and helpful for you. Leave me comments down below to see if this is really helpful, or if you have any feedback or any additional comments. I would love to hear from you, and I will see you in the next video. So take care, everyone. Bye. Wine time. Bye.